Morning. Hi, if you haven't watched one of my videos before, my name's Gav. And if you're watching this, I assume you've just been diagnosed with MS. Or maybe you suspect you've got it, and it's a scary thing, it's really worrying. You've probably got a lot of questions running through your head right this second. Will I end up in a wheelchair? Is it my fault I have MS? Is there a cure? How do I tell my family? Is MS contagious? Are the doctors Are there any How many types of MS? How soon will What's my life going to have a family? Why do I have Stop. Breathe. Relax. Right, let's take a step back from your situation. Yeah, getting diagnosed with MS is rubbish. I won't lie to you. At the time it feels like it's the worst thing in the world, but it really isn't. In fact, in a sort of weird way, getting diagnosed with MS is a good thing. I'm not saying having MS is a good thing, but the fact that you've been diagnosed with MS is a good thing. I know it feels like everything's changed since the doctor said you've got MS, but it really hasn't. 2 seconds before those words were uttered to now, nothing really has changed. You had MS before you were told, you've got it afterwards. So from that respect, being diagnosed with MS it's a good thing. Having MS isn't, but at least you know. Now, everybody always has a lot of questions about MS. And I'm just going to go through a couple of the really common ones with you. Try and calm your fears a little bit. Just bring a slight calm oceans to the sea of life. Probably the most common question is, will I end up in a wheelchair? And I'm not going to lie to you. Odds are that you may end up needing to use a wheelchair. Doesn't mean you'll need to use it all the time, but you might have to use one occasionally. I have to use one with my MS. If I know I'm going to be walking or on my feet for a long time, I need to use a wheelchair. And it's not great, but again, it's not the worst thing in the world. There's far worse things that could happen to you. I know you don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. So, what are the chances of you being in a wheelchair? They say there's 50% after 10 years of having relapse and remitting that you'll have to use a wheelchair occasionally. And it goes up to 90% after 20 or 25 years. And that sounds quite scary, but if you think about it, statistics mean very little to the individual. There's on average a 1 in 1,000 chance that somebody will get MS. Obviously, circumstances around each individual are different that may make it more or less likely that they'll get MS, but on average it's 1 in 1,000. 0.01% chance that you'll get MS. So if you follow that thought pattern through, 50% chance that you won't even need to look at a wheelchair within the next 10 years. It's pretty good. Another question a lot of people want to know the answer to, and unfortunately it's not the answer people want to hear. Is MS curable? Is there a cure? Well, no, there's not. you'll see many claims of people saying, my mother had MS and I gave her this pill and all the symptoms went away. But these are just flights of fancy. There is no cure for MS. But they are making huge leaps and bounds in the drug treatments for it, in the work on MS. They still don't know what causes it, but day by day it's getting closer and closer. Even the year and a half since I've been diagnosed, well, nearly 2 years now, the amount of drugs on the market and the amount of drugs that are coming to the market is increased quite dramatically. There's new drugs coming out all the time. One of the latest ones that's been licensed here in the UK, Tysabri, it's got double the effectiveness of the standard disease-modifying treatments for reducing relapses. There's a drug in testing at the moment called Campath, which has been shown to actually regrow the brain cells. The brain size on the MRI scans increases. So there is hope. It's not the end of the world. In fact, the best piece of advice I could give anybody, not even with just MS, but even more important with somebody who has MS, is try and be positive. I know it can be very hard when you're in hospital, unable to get out of bed, in a lot of pain, but the mind is the greatest healer of them all. If you've got a positive outlook, it can only help. If you look down at the mud, all you're going to see is the mud. If you look up at the skies, you'll see the stars and the birds and the sky. So whenever you can, you need to try and stay positive. There's little point worrying about things like wheelchairs. Can I provide for my family? Will my boss sack me? All these sorts of things. And I know they really don't seem trivial, but you've got to roll with the punches. You've got to let MS beat you down, but then you've got to get back up again. If you spend all your time worrying about what may or may not happen, you won't enjoy the moment. The Earth could get hit by an asteroid at any moment and all life be wiped from the face of the planet. But people don't worry about that because it's kind of fruitless, because there's nothing really we can do if that happens. By the same extension, surely worrying about am I going to end up in a wheelchair or not is a little bit fruitless, because if it's going to happen, it'll happen. So just live for today. Try and live your life to the full. Enjoy everything that you can. It'll make you feel better. I hope this video's helped and given you hopefully a new perspective on MS. There's a lot of support and help out there for you, and at least now you've been diagnosed, you can get access to that help. I'm doing plenty of these videos so you'll be able to see my hairy, crazy head mug again. Until then, I'll see you later.